What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Front Yard Fantasy. Today, we are talking through two must-draft wide receivers. And if you watch Front Yard, you know you get videos from myself, from Marco, from Jay, and all three of us are going to be doing these. We all have our must-draft guys. Guys, we have to leave every single draft with. I got two of them. Let's get into it. Number one on my list, it is Michael Pittman. Right now, being drafted as the wide receiver 13. And I know I'm not alone, right? Michael Pittman is right now one of the big breakout candidates for fantasy, and for good reason, right? Like, P's getting hyped up. One, he is entering year 3, so that makes sense. And two, he's playing with what most would consider an NFL caliber quarterback, right? Carson Wentz is out. Matt Ryan is in. And I know what you're probably thinking, right? Oh, it can't be that big of a move. Matt Ryan wasn't that good last year. Yeah, he's thrown to a rookie tight end, who I love in Kyle Pitts. Didn't have a running back. Calvin Ridley missed basically the entire season, and his best wide receiver is Russell Gage. All of that, and he still demolished Carson Wentz in basically every single completion percentage, metric. He even beat him in play action, which is crazy because Carson Wentz had Jonathan Taylor and was still one of the worst play-action quarterbacks in the NFL. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, is incredible at play-action, even when he was playing with Cordero Patterson and the joke that is Mike Davis. So, QB upgrade, that automatically should put Pittman on your radar for a breakout candidate. And when you're looking at just other ways for him to see success, he's already an elite route runner. And I'm fine saying elite, putting him near the top of the NFL in terms of, route running technicians. Per player profiler, he was 4th in just overall route win rate. He was 8th versus man. That's in his second year in the NFL, and he's only going to get better, right? We know, he's on an upward trajectory. I don't think any of us expect him to plateau, right as he enters year 3. Another year in the Frank Reich system, showing he can ball out and he can be, a lead wide receiver. Last season already, he earned a 25.7% target share. And I get, there wasn't a ton of competition. But even when T.Y. Hilton was active, right, for 10 games, the ghost of T.Y. Hilton, really, but for 10 games, he actually averaged a 27% target share. So when somebody else that is technically a competent NFL wide receiver was out there, he actually saw more targets. So I don't think, bringing in Paris Campbell, bringing in Alec Pierce, I don't think that's really going to be a huge detriment to Michael Pittman, because what matters, most, and there's a good thread on Twitter, go search it up, talking about route participation. That is what matters and correlates for wide receiver success. It's not necessarily more competition, because these guys aren't going to force Michael Pittman off the field. He's still going to come near the NFL lead in routes run, and that's what matters. That's why he's such an interesting breakout candidate with that QB upgrade we talked about. And just, kind of the icing on the cake. And let me be clear. Michael Pittman is not Julio Jones. He is not Calvin Ridley. He's not that type of dude. At least not yet, I don't think. But Matt Ryan, the last 6 seasons, his wide receiver 1, which, obviously has been Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones for basically a decade, they averaged a 27.1% target share. So you're looking at guys that just eat up targets. He hyper targets his lead guy. And now, obviously, is that to say Michael Pittman is locked in and he's going to have a 27% target share? No, of course not. Because, again, he's not the player or the caliber of player that Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are. But, again, everything we've said, it just points to Michael Pittman having a monster season, right? The Colts are going to throw more. The defense is looking a little bit shakier than previous seasons. You have a quarterback they trust and are okay with throwing the ball. So maybe, they don't run as much. And I think that's a fair narrative to push, even though there's not a ton of statistical data to say, yeah, Frank Reich's obviously just going to stop running. I mean, they're still going to be a run-heavy team. But there should be more volume to spread around. And because of that, Michael Pittman should see an increase in targets. Not necessarily target share, but raw total targets. He's a guy that could push to finish inside the top 10, and I'm happy to grab him at the back of the third, because not only does he feel safe, like I said, he carries upside, because if he balls out and truly, improves as a player, you're looking at a guy that can finish top 10, and that's what you want. Those are league-winning type of picks even in the third round, finding those kind of guys, that's a huge value. And the next one here, it is one of my personal favorites. It is Allen Robinson. He is obviously coming off of a terrible season, and his ADP reflects that, right? A guy that's usually a top 10 wideout is being drafted right now as wide receiver 29 over on Fantasy Pros. Now, if you play best ball, you'll probably take issue with that because he's like wide receiver 20 to 22 over on Underdog currently. But for now, we're going casual. We're going to use Fantasy Pros, so wide receiver 29. And at that price, it's really difficult to not take a stab at Allen Robinson. Right now, if we just look at what happened last year and compare it to the new situation, a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, an idiot head coach in Matt Nagy, and basically a team that just said, we don't really want you on the team, but we're not going to let you play anywhere else because we're kind of spiteful dickheads. That's what the Bears were in 2021. So Allen Robinson, if you watch those games, he did not try. It was clear. And I don't believe he's going to magically be washed up at 28 years old. I don't think his legs just disappeared on him, 1 year removed from a top 10 season. I think it's situation. That's what we saw. Now, you look at 2022. Sean McVay. He has Cooper Kupp opposite him. He has Matthew Stafford, the best quarterback he has ever played with by a wide margin. And things are looking up for Allen Robinson. Not only do I think he's a top 24 wide receiver. I think that's a no-brainer. I think he's a top 15 guy this year. And again, in best ball, wide receiver 20, wide receiver 15, not the biggest jump. If you're looking at Fantasy Pros, wide receiver 29 to wide receiver 15 or so, those are league-winning type of picks to me. And the reason I'm so confident there is let's just look at Robert Woods, right? Really the wide receiver 2 in that offense for the last 4 years. He has finished on a points per game basis as wide receiver 18, 19, 14, and 17. He is a locked-in wide receiver 2. And I think, when you're just looking at the raw targets, I think Allen Robinson's going to command more than Robert Woods because he is more talented. And again, Robert Woods set a pretty high bar there. His lowest season in terms of total targets is 7.7 a game. Just under 8 targets. And again, he's seen over 9 targets a game when Cooper Kupp got hurt, in 2019. So there's a lot to like in terms of volume. And this is an offense that it's not all or nothing. Again, Robert Woods was wide receiver 18 this year, while Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 1. Kupp's going to come back to earth a little bit this season, and it's safe to assume or project even that those targets could go to Allen Robinson. And again, those targets are coming from Matthew Stafford. He doesn't need to see 150 targets to produce like he has with Mitch Trubisky and Blake Bortles and Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, right? You don't need that type of volume. Allen Robinson can go and take 130 to 135 targets and still put up a top 15 season because it's in a top 3 offense in the NFL. And again, the QB upgrade, that's the piece. I'm going to bring it up again, probably for the 5th time in the last 2 or 3 minutes. But Matthew Stafford is an elite quarterback. He is, people won't like it, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback in my eyes. And the last piece here, I think that's going a little bit under the radar, is Van Jefferson's injury. This team does not really have a viable wide receiver 3 on the roster right now, right? Again, depends what you think of Tutu Atwell. I don't think much. Skoranek, the Cooper Kupp light version, I don't really care much about him. They could funnel targets to Kupp and Allen Robinson at a higher rate than usual because Van Jefferson's not going to start the year healthy, right? He had surgery. He is coming back on a knee injury. It's not going to be a major thing, but it's enough to limit him and potentially elevate the targets for that wide receiver 2 in this offense, which obviously is set up and it is poised to be Allen Robinson. So again, all-encompassing QB upgrade, offensive upgrade, head coach upgrade, just, I think, effort upgrade is probably a safe one to put here. Allen Robinson at wide receiver 29 is just an absurd value. Even if he gets the wide receiver 20, I'm still going to take him. I am all in on Allen Robinson this year. All right, guys, that is all we have. Again, if you like what we're doing here at FYF, if you like these type of videos, short, quick, kind of short content, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Again, if you have questions, comments, that kind of stuff, drop it down below. We love helping you guys out here. As always, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.